Wilson! Wilson! I'm sorry guys, but that is what I immediately thought of after I watched this movie. I finished watching this movie at like 2 in the morning. I wanted to drive to Modell's, go to the volleyball aisle, buy my own volleyball, paint a face on it, alright, and name it Wilson, okay? That's how inspired I was by Wilson in this movie to make my own Wilson. Alright, Wilson, you are awesome. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another one of my old movie reviews. Yes guys, I am continuing my series of old movie reviews for the entire summer. So I'm going to be doing these for the next few months. And this is going to be my third old movie review. Basically, I take a lot in my old movie review series. I take a few films that have come out in the past several years. You know, it could have been 10, 20 years, could have been 5, 2 years. And I watch, I pick a film that I've never seen before. I watch for the first time and I end up reviewing it for you guys. And that is what I'm doing in this video. This is my third old movie review. And this is a Tom Hanks movie that is directed by Robert Zemeckis. Came out in 2000. It is a survival tale drama. And yeah, so in this video, that's right guys, I'm going to be reviewing Castaway. Now, Castaway was a movie that I found in FYE for a really cheap price a few months ago. And I bought it a complete blind buy, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm buying this because I love Tom Hanks. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. I want to see him in this movie. I did hear a few good things about it as well, which is why I ended up buying Castaway. But anyway, Robert Zemeckis is an excellent director, which is another reason why I decided to pick it up. I loved Forrest Gump, and I absolutely loved Flight. I was gonna do Forrest Gump, but since I had already seen that, I've never seen Castaway. I decided to do Castaway for my old movie review. But anyway, a few cool fun facts about Castaway. This movie was shot over like 3 years or so, 2 or 3 years, because they had to halt production because they needed to have Tom Hanks do something specific for the role that I'm not going to spoil. So that's pretty interesting. And the movie wasn't even nominated for that many Oscars, yet it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was very critically acclaimed, very surprising actually. But it wasn't really nominated for anything except for Best Actor for Tom Hanks, which is actually upsetting. The movie should have gotten some other nominations. But anyway, yes, I have decided to review Castaway for my next old movie review. And what can I say, guys? I really enjoyed the movie. Despite the fact that I had 1 or 2 problems with the movie, it was a pretty darn good survival tale with an incredible direction from Robert Zemeckis and another stunning, incredible Tom Hanks performance. With that being said, guys, let's get into my review for Castaway. The first thing I'm going to start talking about in the film is the plot. Basically, just going to sum up for you guys without spoiling it. So, the film is set, I think, in 1995, and it stars Tom Hanks as a FedEx operations manager. He's not necessarily a delivery man. He basically oversees operations. He oversees shipping of FedEx packages and everything. He makes sure nothing goes wrong or anything. He's very fast-talking. He's very fast-talking and very smart. He's very intelligent, okay? And during Christmas, he has to leave his girlfriend, played by Helen Hunt, to go on a flight to Malaysia on business. And during the flight, something goes terribly wrong, and the plane crashes into an ocean. Now, it's a 5-person flight, and Tom Hanks comes out as the sole survivor of the airplane crash. And he winds up on a deserted island that is completely in the middle of nowhere. The island itself isn't only deserted. There's no one inhabiting the island. That's not the only thing. The island is absolutely in the middle of nowhere. And the only things he has, in regards to tools and everything, he has a raft and a few FedEx packages. So basically, Tom Hanks is screwed, okay? He is on this island. He has to find a way to survive on this island, get food for himself, you know, get a fire started. He's got to figure all of this out using just a raft and a few FedEx packages. And he has to try to survive in hopes of getting rescued one day. And that is basically the premise behind Castaway. Now, guys, Castaway is that type of movie where, in regards to the screenplay, I'm talking story for a second, there's really not too much dialogue, lines of on-screen dialogue, okay? Because most of the movie is set on an island that is completely deserted. Tom Hanks is the only one on this island. Nobody else is on there, of course, so he's really not talking to anyone, so you can't have dialogue in those scenes. The scenes that do have dialogue are the scenes where he's talking to himself or he's talking to his inanimate object, Wilson, which I'll get into. But, so this is that type of movie where the screenplay is a little easier to write than, say, a movie like The Departed, where there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of discussion and stuff like that. This movie has a lot of characters in the beginning, and it has dialogue in the beginning, but in the middle, there's hardly any because Tom Hanks is alone on this island. So, it's a movie that could easily get boring, but the thing that works so well about this movie is not only Robert Zemeckis' great direction, it's Tom Hanks' performance, okay, which I will get into, but he just brings this character to life, and he makes him feel real. Like this really happened to some guy. In the movie, his name is Chuck Noland. It feels like, with his portrayal, it feels like there was honestly a Chuck Noland in real life who got stuck on an island and abandoned for however long he was on there. I don't want to spoil it. Okay? That is how good his performance is in this movie. Now, the writing itself is good, except for maybe one problem I had with it, but Hanks just brings it to life, and that's what I want to get into right now, is the performances. And when I mean performances, I should say performance, because Tom Hanks is really the only actor in this movie. You got a few other supporting actors, like I said. Helen Hunt is in the movie. You may recognize an actor here or there, but Tom Hanks is in this movie for like 90% of it, okay? And for about, I'm going to say roughly 70% of it, he's completely by himself on this island, okay? For a good chunk of the middle, some of the end, and some of the end of the beginning of the movie, Tom Hanks is completely alone. And what can I say? He is one of my favorite actors working today, guys, or of all time, actually. I love Tom Hanks. I respect this man so much. And I just, nearly every single performance I've seen him give, I've gotten choked up or I felt very sad or emotional at some point. That is how amazing this guy can act, okay? That is why Tom Hanks is one of the best we will ever have working in this industry. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a fact. He gives such a heartbreaking, emotionally grounded, genuine performance in this movie. I mean, there is nothing greater than the dedication he brings to the role. Okay, I know it. From seeing him in his roles, he comes to set completely 100% dedicated. He knows his lines. He knows how he's going to portray these lines, how he's going to speak, how he's going to emote, you know, emotions, okay? He knows what he's doing in front of the camera, and that is why he's one of the best actors of our time. There is a scene towards the end of this movie where he's sort of talking to himself. I don't want to spoil it. It's one of the final scenes of the movie, and I didn't break down in tears, but I started to get choked up. He's sitting there, and the camera's going like around him in the front of him, you know, showing him talking, okay? And he's just sitting there, he's staring off into the distance, he's talking, and you see his eyes tearing up, but he's not physically crying. And it's just paining me to watch this because of how good an actor he is. He is incredible, guys. This is one of his best roles. My favorite role from him will always be Saving Private Ryan. Next is easily Forrest Gump, but this is probably my next favorite performance I've ever seen from him. He's incredible in this movie. I implore you to see this movie for Tom Hanks alone. That is how good this man is, and I have the utmost respect for him. Tom Hanks, I love what you have done in film, and I love your movies. You are an incredible actor. I know he'll never watch this, but he is so good in this movie. He's incredible, and like I said, he just makes you feel terrible for his character, his character situation. And I love how his character has to, he's very smart, but as he goes onto this island, he needs to learn to adapt to his surroundings and everything, and get used to everything, and that's what he tries to do. And he ends up succeeding for the most part, even though he is a very intelligent character on his own right. And of course, he's going to have an important personal journey. He's going to learn a few things he never really knew about himself and about his life and his relationships with other people as he stays on this island. He's going to get motivated to survive and stay alive, and he's just incredible in this movie. I think I've praised him enough, but I can make a whole video talking about how good Tom Hanks is. But he carries this movie single-handedly. That's honestly why I didn't get bored in some of the scenes. He was so good in this role, and he was great, okay? Enough said. Now, real quick, Wilson is the volleyball that he makes, this inanimate object he makes while on the island, and I love those scenes with him and Wilson. That was great. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. Wilson, the volleyball, is awesome. Anyway, guys, I want to get further on with this review. I think it's time for me to get into my rating of the film. Now, I praised Hanks a lot, okay, and I'm really not going to talk too much more about him, but there are a lot of other aspects of this movie that I need to discuss and praise, because this movie definitely has a lot of other solid things working for it. So in the end, after thinking about it, I'm going to give Castaway a solid 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, it's got its flaws, but it is a very darn good movie, if you ask me. It's one of Hanks' best roles. It's one of Zemeckis' best films, in my opinion, from the ones I've seen from him. And it really is, at times, a gripping, inspiring, and definitely emotional, heartbreaking survival tale of a man who loses everything and has to survive to get it all back in the end. And that's what I loved about Castaway. Now, get into a few other things I love. Like I said, I praised Tom Hanks' performance enough. I have to get into a few other things about this movie as I go on. But he is just brilliant. He keeps you entertained. He keeps you engaged. That is why this movie is so good. One reason. Robert Zemeckis' direction is nearly flawless, in my opinion. I love some of the shots he has set up in this movie. The shots on the island with the waves and everything. I know that that also involves production design and where they shot where they actually shot the movie, the filming location. But his shots are just great. I'll get into the cinematography. Another thing I need to bring up. Zemeckis uses a few long takes in this movie. One notable one in the end of the film, towards the end of the film, that I really liked, and that involved Tom Hanks' great performance in that one scene. I just love the use of long takes. I love it. Zemeckis did a great job directing this movie. The plane crash sequence, while you definitely can tell it's a little outdated because it was made in... They put it together in like the 1990s, alright? The 1999, 1998, 2000, okay, when the movie came out. So it is a little outdated, but for its time, I thought it was a good plane crash scene, you know? It was very well directed. And the scene where they're in the water, that looked really good in my opinion. So props to Robert Zemeckis for that. The cinematography, don't ask me how this movie wasn't nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars. It absolutely deserved it. There are some breathtaking, beautiful shots in this movie. I don't know, okay? That will always escape me, how this movie didn't get nominated for Best Cinematography. It's unbelievable, but what are you going to do? So cinematography was great. The film editing was decent. The movie felt a little slow in a few scenes, but overall I would say the film editing was pretty darn good. The score. Now the movie has a very minimal score in that in the whole middle of the movie there's no score playing whatsoever. You just hear the sounds of the ocean, the waves, the little bugs out there. That's it. You don't have any score whatsoever. But Alan Silvestri composes the score for the end of the movie, which was just beautiful. The score in the end of the movie, it's one particular composition, and it's played in like several scenes. It's one beautiful song. I love it. Alan Silvestri is a great composer, and it is so fitting in this movie. It's emotional, added to the emotional weight of the film, in my opinion, and that is something I really loved about the movie. Towards the end was the score, which really got me a little choked up inside. It did. It really did. That is how great the score is at the end of the film by Alan Silvestri. And with Tom Hanks' performance, it really pays off. The sound editing was pretty good. Overall, the movie was a pretty decent survival tale that I actually found to be more engaging than boring, as some survival tales may end up being, because of Hanks' performance, because of Zemeckis' great direction, and because of the cinematography. You know, that is what I really loved about Castaway. Now, getting into a few minor problems I had with the movie. There are a few here or there. This movie isn't flawless. One thing in particular, the movie's a little bit longer than it needs to be. It's roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes. I would have cut it down to about 2 hours flat, or just 2 hours 10 minutes, something like that. I don't think it needs to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. Frankly, I think they could have cut out a scene or two in the middle on the island. And this next thing is getting into another problem I had with the movie. And it involves the transitioning of the events of the film. Now, this is very hard to say without spoiling. Like I said, I had a little bit of a problem with the length of the movie. It was a little too long. But I feel that a certain portion of the story was rushed. Specifically in the middle. Dead on in the middle, there is something that happens in this movie. Your jaw is not only going to drop at the shock of it, but you're also going to say to yourself, wow, I can't believe that, okay, I'm watching this part of the film. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, oh wow, this movie just did a complete fast forward, and that's all I'm going to say, okay? There is something, it involves the movies transitioning from one time to another time, and that's all I want to say. I think that wasn't handled very well. I thought it was rushed, frankly. I thought we needed to see more of that, to be honest. Other than that, I feel Castaway is a pretty darn good movie, apart from those 2 minor flaws I had with it, and I definitely recommend it to you guys. It's a great survival tale, another great Hanks performance. Excellent Hanks performance, and I definitely recommend it for that reason. So there you have it, guys. There's my review of Castaway, 9 out of 10. If you have seen the movie, let me know down below in the comments what you've thought about it. And leave me your thoughts on what your favorite Tom Hanks performance is. Let me know down below. Mine, like I said, is Saving Private Ryan. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for my next old movie review coming soon. Bye, guys.